So now we have a baseline for the source of our stress and anxiety, right? We know it's not just some innate feature. We know it doesn't just come from inside. We're not just born with it. We've learned it. We can unlearn it. That's great. But I'm still stressed right now, right? So what do I do? What do I do? So here's a few techniques you can use. I got 4 of them for you with a few kind of asides, right? And the first one talks about our textbook, cognitive restructure. Now, this is more of a long-term thing, so I guess calling it an immediate technique is less helpful, but it's still a useful way to approach, right? Understand that a lot of our stress has come from just how we're perceiving, right? How we are prepping the situation in our head. So step 1 for that, practically speaking, think of your audience. We think of them often as like, oh no, I make a mistake, they're gonna boo me down, right? They're against me, the antagonistic audience narrative that we like to build into our heads. I want you to think about when you're in the audience, when you watch people speak. Let's say you notice, and most of the time when you make a mistake, people aren't gonna notice, right? More on that later. But let's say you're in the audience, you notice a mistake, someone freezes up, they miss a line, I don't know, mismatch, whatever. Like, how often is your innate reaction to go, boo this person, boo, and everyone's like, yeah, and they throw like, I don't know, tomatoes if you want to get like old school, the classic film stuff, right? It just doesn't really happen. I've never seen it happen personally. You know, I've heard like stories, but even then, not really. And it was almost in like good nature, good spirits, and so. And no tomatoes were ever thrown, right? Unless it was like at a Renaissance festival, and that was the point. So the audience is on your side. If we're colleagues and coworkers, they know how stressful it is to be up there sharing, right? They've been up there. They want you to do well, right? If you're in an interview even, and they're looking at y'all, you know, like all like serious, like they want your best. They want to work with someone who's going to engage in their concepts and you know, connect with them. And so your audience basically always wants you to perform. They always want the best from you, and they're on your side by default. So just understanding that they're not against you, right, is a good first step for that cognitive restructure of that pressure we put on ourselves. And even more important than that, mistakes are just part of the experience. You'll never not have mistakes. It's another reason I don't like scripts. I really cannot get across how much I dislike scripts in a public speaking context, right? I do understand why people use them, especially for like big speeches in front of audiences that they haven't practiced very many times. Totally get it. But for what we practice in this class, I'm really going to ask you not to use scripts. Notes, outlines, that's fine, right? I know you'll have it on the monitor. I see it all the time. It's like, he can't tell I'm reading from a script. There's no way anyone will know that these words are from a line. I mean, it's like, just don't do it. It messes up how you share and communicate, right? But it has this mentality that, well, I can't make any mistakes. I got to get the words exactly right. Mistakes are going to be part of it. I've seen a professional communicator. He was actually the communication professor we had before I started doing this. He was amazing. I love him to death. Michael Fairley, if you ever had a chance to be in one of his classes, he still does come and drama classes on occasion if you ever see him. And he's a good guy. He walked on stage one day to talk to the entire faculty at my college. And he just took 3 steps and just face planted. He just tripped on a chord. I didn't even see the chord, and just down right. And everyone's like, oh no, you know, and he just gets himself up, dusts himself off, right. And, you know, gives a thumbs up. And then he made it, he shifted I've heard him give that talk before, and he shifted his introduction to be about like falling up and getting down and being adaptable, right. It was just part of it. It became part of the experience. Technology won't work. You'll miss some things. Your audience is going to be empathetic. And that is part of the skill set, is naturally taking those mistakes in. So remove that pressure to be perfect, right? Perfection, I cannot, and this is a philosophical statement for many things, but perfection is basically stagnation, right? It is basically like an embodied fear of a mistake that will keep people from doing anything. All right. It's not productive. We want to practice the skill. And if we're going to practice the skill, we're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. All right. So cognitive restructuring, how we think of things. And there's other ways you can play with that. The book talks about it, but I'm going to keep it moving. And I guess I say that Tech 2 is technically another type of cognitive restructuring, but it's a much more focused, specific one that I've seen have a lot of success with my students. And that's just to be nervous. If you're nervous, just be nervous. It's okay. It's okay to be nervous. It's okay. You be nervous. You don't fight the nerves. The nerves are just a feeling. It's a feeling that you feel, right? When you get these feelings, they just come to us the same way you hear a sound. If someone claps next to your face or you see a bright light flashing, you can't choose not to hear that or not to see that so long as you're able to, perceive those senses. They just come. They're just going to be registered. And you really don't think much about them after that. Like, oh, that was bright. That was loud, right? That's how our feelings work. That's how nerves are. Oh, I feel nervous, right? And here's the difference. Oh, I'm nervous. Okay. Versus I'm nervous. I must not be nervous, right? And then you're fighting the nerves and you're beating yourself up. Why am I nervous? I'm always like this. And you're like running through all these accounts and narratives of all the times you were nervous in the past. Like it's hard. It's hard. A lot of the techniques we talk about, like the restructuring and the understanding the sources, it's really about changing your mentality so you feel less nervous, when the time comes. But once the nerves are there, they're not going to do much for you. So this is really when you feel nervous, okay, just look at it as another kind of energy, right? Maybe if you got some private time before you do your presentation, do some push-ups or run around or jumping jacks, right? Let some of that nervous energy out, burn off some of that adrenaline that comes with the nerves and the stress. But just be nervous. Be nervous. We think of nerves as kind of like butterflies flying in the stomach. I've heard it described a lot. And I think the best way I found to think about it is the butterflies, trying to catch every single one of them, get them out of your house. Oh, that's going to take you time. And you got to get up there and you got to focus on your presentation. You don't got time for that. Instead, we're going to make those butterflies fly in formation. And it's just going to be another source of energy for you. And maybe it'll make you talk a little fast. And maybe it makes you, be a little bit more energized or body movement than you're looking for, but hey, that's okay. It is okay. Be nervous, embrace it. And that helps more than most people realize. It's really like simple, but effective. More technical is number 3. And that is breath control, learning to breathe effectively. Box breathing specifically is the method I like the best because it's just easy to remember and hold in your head when we got a lot to process. There's lots of different breathing techniques. Feel free to go searching. There's the Wim Hof, which is a little more extreme, but feel free. He's the guy who likes to sit in the big ice baths, It's kind of fun. Box breathing, straightforward. It's used by professionals. I know military and special forces make use of it. Other people who have to deal with stressful life situations regularly to manage their headspace will use it to maintain calm and countenance. And it's as easy as this, right? You're going to breathe in. You're going to hold that breath. You're going to exhale. You're going to hold that breath and you're going to repeat. All right. So you're going to breathe in 4 seconds. You're going to hold. You're going to exhale 4 seconds. And we're going to hold. And then we're going to repeat. And that's it. And what you'll feel this pressure, right? And there's science that I don't understand that happens. And it's been explained to me and my brain just, math and science, right? Goes right out of it. There's a whole science to it. Essentially where your stress and fight or flight and nerves come from. It directly impacts that. It directly changes like your physiology, especially if you practice it. And it's one of those things, if you do it the one time, you're like, whoa, still nervous. Doesn't work, right? Doesn't not quite how it works, right? Do it multiple times, practice it, and you will find it's not like a light switch so much as it is like a dampener, and it might get pushed back up, but then you keep going. And then all of a sudden you realize your stress levels, they're still there. Once again, be nervous. It's okay. It's not going to completely go away. And if you put that pressure on you to make it completely go away, that makes it spike, right? That's something separate though. That's just something you're doing to yourself. But the box breathing can help it kind of put a blanket over it, calm it down, let you speak a little more calm and allow a little bit of that quiet, a little bit of that peace, right? And it's useful in a lot of other things too. It's great when you pair it with meditation as well. I'm not going to go too far on the meditation line because I know that can feel, once again, a little bit on the whimsical side for a lot of people. There's actually a lot of scientific, really powerful scientific evidence backing that up. So that is another methodology if you want to look into it. I might talk about that if there's interest in a future video. We'll see. But for now, I'm going to keep it focused on more present, immediate techniques. And on the note of allowing for mistakes, sometimes your recording device just turns off. And that's okay. That's okay. You can just pick up the video with a brief cut to here. Last point, self-talk. I mentioned it in a previous video in passing. It's probably one of the best habits that you can pick up. I'll be completely honest with you. learning to be aware of how you speak to yourself, internally or externally, if you're like me and you like to talk out loud when it's just you. It directly influences how we talk to the world around us and the confidence we have when we're engaging with that world. It has a strong influence on our public speaking and our likeliness to manage our stress spikes, right? Or just to feel the stress spike in the first place, right? When you make a mistake, if you go, oh, why am I so stupid? Why am I like this? Why do I do this? Or whatever you got, right? That creates a narrative. That is your baseline. Your words very much define where you then build from, right? Our language very much sculpts and creates our perceptions and how we see the world. Everything around us is built with words and language, which is, especially clear to us these days. And large language models are just like, so prevalent, right? It's just like the technology that is that's so impactful. Our language defines our reality in many ways, and the way we talk to ourselves can set a baseline for success or struggle, right? And so I recommend practical, right? Okay, what do I do about that? That's great, but I'm used to saying the things, right? What do I do about it? Put on a loved one filter for everything you say to yourself. Someone you care about. Think of someone you care about, someone you want to see, happy and healthy and finding success in their lives. Imagine you're saying whatever it is you're saying to yourself to them, all right? And just run it through that filter. Is that what you would say to them? Is that how you would phrase your words, your advice, your feedback, your criticism? And include criticism. Hold yourself accountable. This is not a give yourself a free pass on everything. This is not a, only say nice words and coddle yourself kind of thing. That's not what I'm saying here. This is when you got to be critical, but be productively critical, right? Don't just be tearing yourself down out of frustration, because it won't build, right? It's not going to build what you need to build. And I know that really sounds like abstract, like, okay, all right, we're getting off in a little philosophical nebulous stuff. But I've been working with students, and not just, I've got high schoolers, I've got military, I've got police, I've got people out of prison, I've got people working for underwater welding, I've got engineers, I've got, just anything, right? Everything. It's one of the cool things about being at a community college for as long as I have in various community colleges is just the breadth of experience. I live right next to, Fort Bragg, I think now it's Fort Joy, then to Fort Bragg. And so I just happen to have several military friends, and I get to hear their experiences, right? And it just gives me a lot of really, really valuable perspective on what informs our communication, what informs our success, and how we share ideas with other people, right? And so how we talk to ourselves over and over again, I've seen it as a baseline. So just consider it, all right? Try it. And a lot of these techniques, they need time and practice, like any skill. And that's kind of that reoccurring concept, right? Draw awareness to these ideas. These things are skills. We need to practice them. We practice them, we build them, we improve, we grow, we do better at everything we do, right? Whether we're talking in front of a camera to the whole audience in front of us and presenting our ideas in an interview room, or just sharing with a friend or a loved one. So just be aware how you talk to yourself, and understand that will come through in every other communication that you share. That's it for this video. See you in the next one.